Alright. Okay, we got Uniline. It's been last milestone since we had them. Oh yeah, it's the that one quiz bowl SCP where like the recording is always different, and it also like seems to like take place in different historical moments. Not historical moments, but like different times in history. Wait, actually, does it say here? What's here? I wanted to write an SCP about quiz bowl for a while. Now I have that. Any takeaway for this article is that the way society has a different idea of what knowledge is useful, knowing more than can. Yeah. So that's the one. Oh, cool. They have a little like synopsis here of the reasons why they made the SCPs. That's cool. My first article. Okay. Well, Univine, you wrote Napoleon crossing the Urals. Okay, interesting. Let's go. Up to Class safe, special containment procedures -A is to be secured in a glass case inside a sterile storage chamber at Site 77. To prevent the object's degradation, the storage chamber's temperature must be maintained at 20 degrees Celsius and its relative humidity at 45%. -A is to be stored in complete darkness while not in use and is to be examined daily by a curator from the Department of Antiquities for instances of Anthrenus webuski. Footnote, commonly known as a carpet beetles. Carpet beetles. Actually, let me see how they look like. Ooh, that's a cool little color here. Let me see what they're all about, because I don't know what they are. Our family of Coleoptera that are commonly referred to as skin beetles or carpet beetles. Scavenge feed on dry animal and plant materials such as skin or pollen, animal hair, feathers, dipped insects, and natural fibers. Members found in the carcass as well. That may be found in mammal, bird, species of green. Okay. Any digital, and this was called Napoleon crossing the Urals. Okay, interesting. Any digital photography of -A is to be considered a Class C information breach, subject to disciplinary action. Film photography of -A is permissible for research regarding -B with explicit permission from site director. All instances of -B and the film used to develop them are to be immediately destroyed following experimentation. Description: -A is a 1.3 times 2 meter oil painting in the style of Jacques Louis David, which was acquired in a raid on the Paris residence of anomalous art dealer. -B is the designation given to all photographs of -A and all photographs of other instances of -B. -A is an equestrian portrait of Napoleon Bonaparte depicting, and I'm still mad at myself that there were 2 weeks. Was it 2 weeks ago? 1 week ago? Where there was a Napoleon Bonaparte SCP, but it was not. It was the fucking Floridan politician and not the one I thought it was. Like, why did it have to have the same name, except that one had the last name of Boward and this one doesn't? I don't know why I'm just mad at myself for not realizing this during the whole reading. For the whole time I thought I was like Napoleon, French guy, French one Napoleon, not the Floridan Napoleon. But yeah, depicting holding an electric lantern inscribed with the words LV men vide as his army marches through a mountain pass in the dark. Okay, so we have electric lantern, which is an anachronism. What the fuck is an anachronism? Anachronism. A thing belong to or appropriate to a thing belong or appropriate to a period other than that which exists. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Oh, because like yeah. So when we see like all those like conspiracy theories of time traveling, because there's like somebody in a picture from all the times that is wearing like modern clothing. That's called an anachronism. I did not know that. Cool. I probably will forget that term in the future, but I will for now, this very moment, I know. And this one says Latin for light of faith. So it's, I think it's like, okay, gotcha. Gotcha. Is that supposed to be the U, the Latin U then? To the right, a group of 4 soldiers is depicted holding up a bronze statue of an armored female figure carrying a square and compasses on the pedestal inscribed with the words Der Europa. Possibly an allusion to Roma, the personification of the city of Rome, whose statue appears in David's Delictus, bring to Brutus the bars of his son. Okay. Okay, in the distant background of the painting, a star fort is visible at the foot of the mountain pass being crossed. The fort is surrounded by corpses, and the perspective such that a pool of a fluid, typically identified by viewers as blood, can be seen within the fort. Okay. The anomalous effect of SCP-2515 manifests for the duration that an individual views -A or an instance of -B. -B is a designation of photographs, and -A is of dash. Okay, and -A is a portrait. Okay, gotcha. So -B is a photograph, and -A is the actual painting. Oh, okay, yeah, makes sense to me. Sometimes I just gotta reread, because like, you know those moments when like you read something, but like your brain just starts to just like think of something else. So you reading out, even when I read out loud, you read out loud, and then you realize you did not pertain any information whatsoever. I hate when that happens. Reviewing either, individuals may claim to have knowledge about -A despite -A not being found in any historical or cultural records accessible by the Foundation. Once affected individuals stop viewing -A or an instance of -B, the anomalous effects cease. So put them in a different room then. Or just make them look the opposite direction. The depth of an individual knowledge is consistent with the level of the educational attainment regarding art history, which can range from having no knowledge to being able to give a detailed interpretation of the elements of -A. See attached interview report. As of yet, no information given by affected individuals about -A has been contradictory. Okay, and here we have interview report number 4. Interviewed D77-9275, art historian and political dissident from interviewer, Dr. Cheng, level 2 researcher. Forward, interview conducted over intercom system. Dr. Cheng has not previously viewed -A or an instance of -B. Oh yeah, hold on. I just now realized something. Yeah, otherwise I'll be... Conducted over intercom. Dr. Cheng has not previously viewed -A or an instance of -B. Gotcha. Of course they say the name. D779275, what do you see on the wall in front of you? No verbal response. D77-9275, I repeat, what do you see on the wall in front of you? If I'm to believe my own eyes... Wait, speaking slowly. If I'm to believe my own eyes, the original Napoleon crossing the Urals. That is correct. D77-9275. Who was the artist behind the painting? Napoleon crossing the Urals is the last great work of Jacques Louis David, completed during his final years as Napoleon's court painter in the year 1822. Footnote: Napoleon Bonaparte died in 1821. In 1822, Jacques Louis David was living in exile in Brussels. D77-9275, could you elaborate on the historical background of the painting? What does it depict? It's a scene from the Siberian campaign, the crossing the pass of Napoleon, which, as you might expect, was named after this particular incident. D77-9275, tell me more about this Siberian campaign. I'm sure you know the calling D77-9275 off. No, I don't. Redacted. Going back to the painting, what can you tell me about the lantern that Napoleon is holding? The inscription on the lens reads Lumen Fidei, which is Latin for light of faith. Notice how the Latin is the only light source in the entire painting. They was telling us, the viewers, that the only faith in can illuminate and enlighten the world. Look at the in the distance. The barbaric forces is shrouded in darkness. Even the light of cannot enlighten them. No, David shows us that they must be enlightened by force. Is the statue of Europa a depiction of... Not exactly, no. The statue of Europa bears a double meaning in Napoleon crossing the Urals. To the masses, Europa represents the god of Europe, the Christian god of Europe, of course. Not so the neo-Gnostic elites like Napoleon and David. To them, Europa was the embodiment of logic, reason, and divine enlightenment of the European continent. The statue of Europa is an allegory for... Certainly, but it is not a depiction of... In fact, David and the neo-Gnostic would never have even spoken of whom they never knew of by name. If that is the case, how did they know of... Pardon me. The impact of the scientific revolution extended far beyond the scientific domain. With the widespread dissemination of Newton's Principia, the concept of a clockwork universe became increasingly popular among the European literati. How do you actually say this? I never had to say this before.
Literati.
Literati. Literati. What began as a form of natural philosophy gradually transformed itself into a matter of religious doctrine. As debate raged over the first cause of the clockwork universe, the winners of the debate were advocates of what we know of as the first cause of the clockwork universe, and unwittingly resurrected his worship. They set the foundation for the neo-Gnostic movement of Napoleon and David's time, and with it, the conflict against what the neo-Gnostics saw as the demiurge across the Urals. I have one last question for you. You mentioned the fortress in the background briefly, but could you elaborate more about it? Certainly. The Empire adopted the stars fort from... The blank Empire adopted star forts from the Europeans, but they modified them to their own ends. Look at the corpses, piled up around the fortress, and the pool of blood in the center. After battles and raids, they could take prisoners to the fortresses, where they would perform the ancient rite of exsanguination. Drop by drop, they bled out the victim into the banks of coagulated blood, preserved to fuel their future rituals. Corpses, too, were valuable resources. Piled up around fortresses, corpses disheartened and diseased any approaching army. Furthermore, once their enemies were close at hand, they could perform the rite of consumption. What this particular rite entailed is still a matter of speculation, but we do have from Marshall Ney's journal of the Siberian campaign a description of its aftermath. 100 drops, 1,000 rose, 1,000 rose, 10,000 fell. Needless to say, assaulting fortresses was hardly a trivial maneuver, even for Napoleon's Continental Army. That's enough for today. You will be escorted back to your chamber. Closing statement. After the interview was conducted, Dr. Chang submitted a request to reserve D 77-9275 for the future testing of SCP-2515. The request was approved by the active site director. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, right now, not only is that D class particularly like known for the itchy chin, for the art knowledge, art history knowledge. But it's also probably not a good idea to like let too many D classes get affected by this effect. Even though, as it says, once you look away, it's over. But it also sounds like this D class is also the most willing. At least, why I can assume that's what the reason why Dr. Shane was like, let's keep this one, because this D class probably was the most willing to talk about it and explain without further like too much of a hassle. So, I assume at least it could be also just that like that they're just like, yeah, let's see what else this D class can tell us about it until we have nothing, and then we'll switch and see what happens. Who knows?